Terrifier 3, here we go. I've been waiting a long time for this one. I'm trying to do this video next to my little Terrifier collection here. These pictures and autographs are actually life-size. What I did was I took pictures of them and I made them smaller so they could fit in my shelf, but I've got all these autographs of everybody I've met. Almost everybody from part 1, and everyone from part 2. The main characters, at least, of course, Lauren, who is just the best. I think she might be my favorite final girl of all time, or maybe my second favorite. I still really like Alice from Nightmare 4, Lisa Wilcox. She was awesome. But Lauren is definitely number 2. I love Terrifier 2. Now, I reviewed the other Terrifier movies and I gave them critical analysis and gave them whatever out of 10. I'm going to do the same thing with this one using my SPACE system, which is story, pacing, artistry, characters, enjoyment. Each category gets a score between 0 and 2. 2 is the best you can get in any category. You add them up, you get a score out of 10. I'm wearing some of my Terrifier 2 stuff. I have 3 different Terrifier 2 shirts. I love part 2. To me, that's like a masterpiece movie. I love all the Terrifier movies, including even like All Hallows Eve. At least Art's part in that was great. He's a great character. If you ask me in my personal life, I just love Terrifier. But for reviews, I do try to be a bit more critical and give you a little bit more of the reasoning why I gave the rating that I gave it. So for the storyline on this one, this is going to be no spoilers on this one. The storyline, I'm going to give it a 1 out of 2. My problem is with this one is that it continues directly from part 2, but it mostly just goes, here's what Art is doing, here's what Sienna's doing, Art, Sienna. They finally meet up at the very end, and the end is really cool, but it's left a little bit more open than you would normally think for a Terrifier movie. I feel that this is a setup for the finale of part 4, and I have this sneaking suspicion that once we see part 4, this movie's 2 hours, let's say part 4 is 2 hours. If you combine those 4 hours of part 3 and part 4, you probably could have done 2.5 hours and then just merged them together. That's my thing. And also, some characters are killed off screen, and I just thought, why is that happening? Or I started to question whether that was even a thing. I don't know. I just saw this movie just now. So again, this is right fresh from seeing it. I need to let it sink in a bit more, and I might like it, might like the story a bit more. You're not going to the Terrifier particularly for the story, but I actually thought the story in part 2 is very strong, especially with Sienna's character, and it is still good with her in this movie. She's great. We're going to get to the character section in a moment. Let's go on to the pacing, though. This is 2 hours. Now, Terrifier 2 was over 2 hours. I think it was 2 hours and 20 minutes, and I actually found that one to be faster paced than this one. And I think it was just because I started to lose... I wanted Art to get going quicker. It felt like he was meandering around a little bit. I'm going to give it a 1.5 out of 2 for pacing. I was never bored. I just feel it probably could have been 15 minutes shorter. That's all. I don't want to sit here and tell you I was bored and what the heck's going on and looking at my watch like, hey, what's happening? It was still super enjoyable, but I do feel it felt a little long for me, where I feel that they could have cut some stuff down, especially when I feel like it's a setup for the next movie. So that's the thing there. The artistry, I'm going to give this a full score of 2 out of 2. The music is on point. I bought the soundtrack for part 2. I'm going to get the soundtrack for part 3, of course. You're looking at the gore effects and the artistry here. Obviously, I actually think that Terrifier 2 is shot well, especially the stuff at the party and the Terrifier and all that stuff. All of that looked incredible to me. I think the finale of part 2 is one of the better horror finales. The face-off with Sienna Shaw and Art the Clown, with Jonathan kind of in the back there, is absolutely killer good, awesome stuff. So, but here, the gore is amazing. Part 2 had great gore. This one as well. There are some super bonkers kills. Look, if you saw part 2, you know what to expect. I don't think anything beat the first Terrifier with my girl getting, cut in half there. I don't think anyone, where is she? And she's right there. That's her right there. I don't think anything beat that for me. That just was nasty and bonkers crazy. You're just like, whoa, right? From that point on, they've tried to up it a little bit. It doesn't really get upped, in my opinion. But there is some great gore effects here for sure. And there are some laugh out loud moments if you are someone who can laugh at the things that happen in Terrifier. And I am one of those guys that can laugh through it. The characters, well, I'm going to give the characters a 1.5. Art is absolutely on fire. I think David Howard Thornton is killing it in this role. He's completely into it. By this point, it's the third time out. I think he was completely into it even in part one, to be honest with you. He replaced the actor from All Hallows Eve to portray Art, and he's been doing an amazing job. There's a lot more Vicky in this one. Absolutely fantastic. She's the only one I have not met. She's great in this. The pale girl is missing. I was very disappointed. We didn't see the little pale girl. What the hell? That was disappointing. Jonathan is in it a little bit, not that much. A bit disappointing. I wanted to see more with Jonathan, to see his character. That's why I'm giving it 1.5. But Sienna, Lauren Lavera is absolutely gold. Damien, thank your lucky stars you found this girl. Every second she's on screen, she's absolutely amazing. Just brilliant. Her performance, her beauty, her character, like the strength in her character. You see her broken down in this one because of the events of part two. She's absolutely fantastic in this. I love her. Definitely one of the best final girls. To the point where I want her to win more than Art. Like the cool thing about a final girl is when you start to root for her over the killer. Look, we're here to see Michael Myers. We're here to see Jason. We're here to see Freddy. We're here to see Art. When you find yourself rooting for the human character to beat the guy, like in part two, I was like, oh, I want Sienna to kick the crap out of this piece of garbage, Art the clown. I was so happy when she was beating him up. Same thing here. And that is very special. It's very rare in horror movies. I don't care who you are. Don't pretend you like the human characters. You're rooting for Jason. All right, stop it. Stop pretending you're not. Okay. So the enjoyment factor, this is a tough one. I want to say I loved it and just give it a 2 out of 2 and be done. Gosh, I think I'm going to give it 1.5 enjoyment factor. I'm giving it a 7.5 out of 10. I'm very close to giving it an 8 out of 10. Again, if you ask me my personal life, just off the street, hey, what'd you think? I'll be like, I love Terrifier 3, go see it, right? But I gotta be more critical for my reviews here on YouTube. This isn't just us talking casually. You want to know, opinions and facts about the movie. I can't give it a full score of 2 out of 2 for the enjoyment factor. I'm gonna give it a 1.5. So 7.5 out of 10 for this movie. It's a must see in the theater. If you need to pick between Art and Joker, Art won big time. I really hope Art destroys that Joker movie because that was a massive disappointment and a bit frustrating to watch. This movie is exactly what you want out of it. It's great. It's exactly what I'm telling. There's some parts you're going to be crying. It's so hilarious. And Art is very funny in it. This is the funniest that he's ever been, I think. The tone of this is definitely a step down. Terrifier 2 had more creativity. Sienna's costume, Art's weaponry. Like in part 3, he uses like chainsaws and he does have the gun and he uses like your conventional weapons. But I feel like part 2, he made that weird cat of nine tails thing. He had his club with all the spikes to it. I like the unconventional weapons that he was using in part 2. It adds a little bit more uniqueness to Art. I also liked in part 2 the more like, let's go for it. Like everything is thrown at you. It's bonkers, crazy. Little pale girl, they got the dead animal thing and they're just like, whoa, what is this? It's just crazy. It's almost like all these weird, cool little ideas they threw into part 2. And then they didn't have a lot of fun, unique ideas for part 3, like the clown cafe, the art cereal box, like that was great. They don't have as many of those things in this third one. Still an amazing movie. You're going to go see it anyways. If you're watching this review, you've seen it or you're going to see it. So when you do see it, please come back. Let me know what you thought about it. Hit the like button. Consider subscribing to the channel. That's it, everybody. Thanks for watching. Until next time.